Hello everyone, welcome to another exclusive members video. The summer transfer window is a couple of months away with 12 games left to go, or just less than 12 games left to go in the Premier League actually. And now is the time you start to talk with players, with agents, with clubs and so on. And I certainly think this summer is going to be fascinating with INEOS coming in and the new structure. You've got new recruitment strategies, new negotiations, the style of player that we're going to target and the approach we take into each deal, which is why it's so fascinating. You've got the French market that could kind of open up possibilities with INEOS working with Nice over there and certain connections and Jean-Claude Blanc, of course. So I think maybe French players could come into this and players in the French league. Players like Todibo, for example. There'll be a focus on young English talents as well, especially if Dougie Freeman comes in, and then you have Dan Ashworth above him. So what we are going to discuss today is purely the summer transfer window, how we believe INEOS are going to approach it, and what targets we're going to look at, and who should we get, more to the point, because I want to know who the fans would go for. I want to know who the viewers would go for. So please do get involved in the comment section and let's just jump into it. So first and foremost, let's discuss the areas of weakness in the squad. Where do we think we need to upgrade? Let's go from back to front, as always, like we would do, with the starting 11. So centre-backs being the obvious place to start. You've got Raphael Varane, who's getting older and more injury-prone, but still has that quality. So would you want to keep him around, but maybe on a lower contract? Harry Maguire potentially looking elsewhere. Lindelof maybe wanting a new challenge in Italy, becoming more of a first-team regular. So we have to be prepared for departures. As simple as that. No one is fresh. No one is safe. We need fresh, talented, relatively young centre-back who can grow into the role as we head into the INEOS era. But at the same time, you don't want to lose all your depth because you can't buy everyone in the summer. So you have to be really, really smart about this. I think wing-backs are also a focus for us, especially given the injuries this season. Luke Shaw, when he's fit and available, is fantastic, but that's the question, when he's fit and available, because he's out for months at a time, and you can't build a reliable, sustainable defence off that. You just simply can't. Malacia, likewise, as well, has been injured. I think the last game he played was mid-June with the Netherlands, and he's still out now. So we've had barely any left-backs all season, which is a huge issue. So I think you need to identify something there. There's also talks about like a Frimpong, sell Wan-Bissaka and bring in a Frimpong to compete with Diego Dallo, which I wouldn't mind at all. You've got the midfield department, which is obviously the massive talking point. I think that's interesting. From people who we've spoken to before, we've had James on from the Muppeters, and he's mentioned that Casemiro would most likely be a player that's going to leave in the summer. So do you bring in a replacement for him? Do you go for more like a star in a De Jong and like an Eriksen kind of style? Who do you go for in midfield? Who would be the perfect player? I've got a person who I think would be great, and I'll get into that in a moment. One thing is for sure, we definitely need another striker alongside Rasmus Højlund. I think most people would probably agree with that. Just to take the weight off, have that extra option for multiple kind of competitions. Someone who's seasoned. Do you buy a big-name striker to compete with Rasmus? Do you buy a younger one to work alongside him? Do you buy someone who's flexible and can play in multiple positions? Again, we'll dive into that. And then what will happen with the futures of players like, Jadon Sancho, Antony, will funds then open up for creative wingers like your kind of Elise's? Will they go for a more direct transitional player in Neto? Will they go for that style if Erik ten Hag isn't there anymore? It'll depend what manager's in. It'll depend, what new sporting director's in. There's loads of stuff going behind the scenes probably that we're not even seeing at the minute, which makes it fascinating and also concerning at the same time, because you're like, are we going to have another kind of crazy summer? I hope not. I really, really hope not. So let's see. And will we be limited with no European football? It looks like Champions League's gone out the window now. We're 11 points behind Aston Villa, 8 points behind Spurs. And given the form that we've shown for the majority of the season, I can't see us winning the next kind of 9 out of 11 games. Can you? So I don't think we're going to get European football, which then financially has a massive impact on your targets and who you want to go for. So we're going to go with the targets, who I would go for personally. And again, please do get yours in the comments section and dispute mine. If you think, no, he's not going to be a good player, no, I think this guy would be better, tell me why and put it in the comments, and we can definitely have a discussion about that. That's the most important thing for me. So we're going to kick things off with the centre-back. I've always been a fan of Jean-Claude Todibo from bits I've seen at Nice. I know he had a couple of issues at Barcelona when he went out on loan, and just issues in loans in a couple of times, but he seems to have settled at Nice. Really, really good at defending those wide areas, good 1v1s, quick, powerful, decent on the ball. So he is someone I've always liked. However, the more I've watched Jared Branthwaite, I can't even say his name, Jared Branthwaite, might need to get his name right before I can start saying we should sign him, the more I am impressed with him. I think he's been fantastic. 21 years old, is colossal unit. He's like 6'4", but looks about 6'9". His IQ when it comes to defending, he's a proper defender. A little bit of a throwback. Very physical, comfortable on the ball, not to an extent where he's like Lisandro Martinez pinging balls left, right, centre, can take it, really well under pressure, but he's decent on the ball. That's something he can maybe increase on a little bit. Obviously, at Everton, you're more of a deep line defending the box, so there's maybe just a couple of question marks there. Can he press up in a high line? Does he have the pace to get back? And also, Manchester United is a completely different club to Everton. It's a different kettle of fish, with all due respect. United is one of the biggest clubs on the planet. I know there is pressure playing for Everton, but we all know, United's just a different kettle of fish altogether. Financially, it makes sense as well, because Everton, I don't know what's going. I think they've actually had some points reduced, so I don't know what's going to go on with them. I don't know if they're going to get relegated. They're having a tough season at the minute. They're not in the best of form. Maybe they need to meet a certain criteria for FFP, and he looks like the most realistic target, in my opinion. That is someone who I would go and get, and I think that's someone who INEOS are identifying at the moment. But there's been others mentioned, like Antonio Silva for Benfica looks fantastic, who definitely shouldn't be overlooked, but is a little bit on the pricey side. You're probably talking about 80 million quid, and I like everything about him. I think no doubt he'll end up at a top club in Europe. There's players like this who I'm not ruling out completely. I just think I'm going off from what I've seen. Obviously, I watch the Premier League week in, week out, so I know what these players are about. Others, more, because I don't watch the leagues as much. So you take my point there. Now, wing backs. This one is an interesting one. This one is kind of developing more and more as a thought, because at the start of the season, I was like, we're all right. Wan-Bissaka, Dalot, Malacia, Shaw. 3 of them haven't been available for a bit, and I haven't seen them play on the pitch for a long, long time. But it is complicated, because you can argue both sides need upgrades. Both sides need a different kind of player, and both sides need reliability. So which side do you go for? Because again, are you going to go buy a right back, a left back, a centre back, a midfielder, a striker? They're not going to do all that in one summer. So the question is, where do you take the hit? Is Wan-Bissaka, and Diego Dalot good enough to reach a world-class level? Maybe Dalot if he continues on this trajectory. But then, do you sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka and you bring in a Frimpong and have Dalot as a secondary option? Some interesting decisions there. Frimpong probably would be my number one choice out of the options that's there, simply because the release clause, how his style of play is tenacious, he's absolutely rapid, he's very good at getting forward. But I've yet to see him in the back four. So again, I don't know how he would function in that. Would Bayer Leverkusen, if they win the league, be willing to let him go as much? I don't know. Everyone wants to play in the Premier League, in it, so you're kind of banking on that. Left back, again, has become an immediate focus due to the nature of Luke Shaw's injuries and the fact Malacia has just gone completely missing. I've already touched on that. So there's another one. Do you rely on Shaw to come through these injuries, or is this going to keep happening? Because the 8-9 years, whatever he's been at United, he's only been available for 50% of the games. So you need to take a look at that, because we're missing him at the moment. And we're probably losing games or drawing games rather than winning them because players like him are out. So we really, really need to look at that. So if we was going to target a left back, I don't think we're going to buy one. But if we do, you have to take a look at Gutierrez for Girona. He is a top talent. He's well scouted by some of the big clubs already. I'm sure he'll probably get a move. He can adapt anywhere on the pitch. Physically strong, 22 years old. Wouldn't be ridiculously expensive, and plenty of years to work with. So that is Frimpong and Gutierrez are the 2 targets I would look at. But I don't think they're going to get both. Central midfield. This is the big one, innit? I would question, looking at Manchester United's midfield issues right now, just think to yourself, what problems do we have in midfield? I'll give you a second, just 5 seconds. What issues do we have in there, and who would be perfect for it? I'll tell you who would be perfect for it. Amadou Onana. I don't think there's a better fit. I think when you look at United's midfield over the past couple of years, even when Fred and McTominay was there, not so much Fred, because certain things I'm going to discuss he was good at, but you look at Jules in the middle of the park, defending large spaces. You need players to attack set pieces, free kicks, or direct long balls. Equally as well, defending your box, we need height, physicality. Amadou Onana poses a massive threat in both boxes with his presence. I think he's the type of player that Jose Mourinho would sign, Amadou Onana, in that, the Chelsea teams like 05, 06, he's just that like monster in it. And I think technical ability is really, really good as well. You want to try playing around the press. He's decent, can take it in comfortable areas, hold off players, role players. And another one who Everton fans are going to absolutely hate me, and Alex, if he watches this, is going to hate me because he's an Everton fan. They were taking Branthwaite and Onana, 2 of the best kind of young talents. But again, you talk about the financial thing that I mentioned for Branthwaite. It's realistic. FFP, sustainability. They're going to need to get rid of players. Onana, they could probably get 50, 60 million quid for. Premier League proven. Looks the type of player that we need, I think, profile-wise. So that is someone who I would go and get for sure. A creative winger. Now, the reasons I say this, I mean, I've literally just been live talking about Rasmus Højlund, and now he's had a lack of supply and no service whatsoever. And that is because we don't have naturally creative wingers. We don't have your Bernardo Silvas, even your Fodens, even your Sakas to a certain extent. We don't have these kind of players. We only have greedy players who the first thought to cut in and shoot: Antony, Garnacho, Rashford. So I believe if we had someone like who I'm going to discuss in a minute, Højlund would have a lot more goals, and we'd have a lot more goals from set pieces. Now, I'm not disputing the fact that we have exciting young players at the club with plenty of potential, but we're looking at the point, going back to it, is how can we complement Rasmus? How can we complement him? And I think someone like a Michael Elise, with the wider range ability that he's got, the creativity that he has, he would be the perfect fit. But I am worried about his injury record. If you go back and have a look at it, it's pretty bad, and he's out for significant periods. I've just literally been talking about Luke Shaw and how him being out isn't reliable, and we need to kind of go away from that. So I think we need to stay clear of injury-prone players, and we need availability, and we need consistency. I actually personally wouldn't even buy a winger. I would promote Ahmad. I believe in his ability. I think he's got star quality. Ten Hag doesn't seem to rate him. Maybe he needs to work on the defensive side of his game and get to the level that Antony's at, and maybe he'll get an opportunity. But I think Ahmad, technical ability, creativity-wise, even set pieces, the free kicks he scored, I think against Luton in the Championship. And he can handle the pressure. He's been up to Rangers, he's been to Sunderland, big clubs in their own right, and he's done well there. So I think he deserves an opportunity. And I think why spend 20, 30 million quid on a player like that and then not even use him doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I think he's a bright talent, and I think he was to move elsewhere, he would do a job. So I would promote Ahmad. He can score wonder goals, can play through balls more efficient than the ones we have, so why not promote him? We bought him for massive money. He's got a lot of potential. You don't need to spend another 50 million quid. The striker. Now, this is the most difficult one, because Man United don't even know who they want, or at least they haven't spoken about specific targets, whether what individual player it is, what type. I mean, I'm sure they have like a list of players they want to go for, but I always mention this, and again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but other teams have depth. Haaland, Alvarez, City, Liverpool, Núñez, Jota, Gakpo can play there. Go to Europe, Barca have Lewandowski and Felix. Different styles for different individual matches, and sometimes they can play together. Secondary striker is, you have maybe sometimes the versatile, like Barca just mentioned. Lewandowski is an out-and-out number 9. João Felix can come in and play there, but he's not going to play there every game. Sometimes he plays a 10, sometimes he can play on the wing. And I think maybe I would probably go down that kind of route. I would buy a forward who could play multiple roles, comfy in the 9 as well for when we need it. A fluid forward like a young Thomas Muller is what I'm going to go with, who will get more than enough game time because they'll play multiple roles, and we have injury issues. Let's be clear. I mean, imagine if we had a young Thomas Muller this season. He could have done a job anywhere. So these are the names that I've listed. Now, these aren't the ones that I would definitely go and get, but the type I'm going for here, okay? So I would take a look at the likes of João Pedro, Hwang Hee-chan, Malin at Dortmund's doing really, really well. Griezmann would be nice, but age and wages definitely wouldn't fit the mould of INEOS. Or maybe someone from South America who we've never heard of before, because there seems to be a lot of talent coming out of here. I can't sit here and give you a definite name on the striker. That's how hard it is. I really like Sesko, but are INEOS going to go and spend 60 million quid on another young striker to work alongside Højlund? I don't know. I really, really like Sesko. I think he's going to be a top player wherever he goes. But I do think he's a similar style to Højlund as well. So maybe you need something different from there. Maybe you need a Dybala, and maybe they'll box clever. I don't know what they're going to do. Like I said, it's the hardest position to fill potentially, and Højlund needs that competition and assistance to take the weight off him. Depending on what competitions are in next season, but I'm sure it'll be Europa League, FA Cup, Carabao, and the Prem. So we definitely need someone there. Let me know who you'd go for. So how do you think INEOS are going to go about this summer transfer window? What are you expecting? Do you see the spend significantly dropping? Do you see him being cutthroat with some of the big players? Maybe even Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, Rafael Varane, Will Maguire or McTominay go? How is this going to shape up? Because we need to do something different from the norm, because of the past 10 years has just been fucking reactionary and shit and last minute loans. So we don't want any more of that nonsense. I would love to hear your thoughts, genuinely. So please do get ours. Thank you for continuing to support the channel as a member. It means more than you know, keeps us going. It's the whole reason why we do this content for you guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed something like this, and let's see what happens in the summer. Let's see what happens. I think INEOS, I trust in INEOS from the things that I've heard and the people that are coming in. I just hope it's different from, like I said, the reactionary stuff, because we need it. Recruitment needs to start now, right now. And then maybe 2-3 years time, we can take a look back at this video and react to it together and be like, fucking hell, no way was trusting that player. Oh, do you remember when he was going to come? Do you remember this? Da, da, da. Interesting, right? Hope you all enjoyed it. Smash a like in the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.